Hello there, Ben Bowers, the Spirit Specialist, and I'm here today to let you know about a competition that I am running to do with Benromach 10-year-olds. If you buy a bottle of Benromach 10-year-old from now until the end of the month, end of August 2022 at the time of recording, because if you're watching this later on then you missed the competition. If you buy a bottle of just the 10-year-old, Benromach 10-year-old, which comes in this lovely box, you will also win a goodie bag, and it is literally a goodie bag because the stuff that I've got is in this bag. You can have this bag if you want. If you don't want the bag, I'll keep it. And in the bag I have a Benromach branded jacket, waterproof jacket. So I actually used to work for, Goody, the company that owned Benromach. So some of this stuff is like old marketing stuff with the old labelling on. So this is what Benromach looks like now. But the packaging used to look like this, and this is the old, basically the old logo for Benromach. So I've got a few bits and pieces that technically they're collectible because they don't do these anymore, but I used to wear one of these jackets for work. They're waterproof, they're kind of like shower proof, they're nice and warm, they're lined inside. This is a size L, it's an L. This is a large, but I also have a medium as well. So you'll get one of those, and now I need to try and fold it up again to put it back in the bag. Let's just put it down there and we'll come to that in a bit. You can also have a notebook, which comes with a pencil if you want to do notes, tasting notes, that sort of thing. There's also a mini notebook as well. It doesn't come with a pencil though, but you can have a Benromach pen to write in that one too. Kind of, it's not leather, but it's got a really nice kind of feel to it as well. You've also got an 8 gig USB drive, which has got Benromach written on it. They're always handy. You can never have too many USB drives. And 8 gig is actually a half decent size for a USB drive. You can also have a branded, so you might see in the bottom there, so that's the sort of the Benromach, I don't know what they call it, insignia or something like that. Now that's kind of remained throughout, but that's, you can see that in the bottom, and it's quite a cool, it looks a bit small at the top for drinking, but it's still more than usable, but it kind of feels nice. It's nice and weighty as well, so you can get branded Benromach glass, and then you can also have another bottle. So in here I've got another bottle of the 10-year-old. Why not? Why not give one away? But what I also have is, because I still had some little bits and pieces of like sample bottles and a little bit left over from the tasting that I've done and everything like that. So what you can also have, as well as another bottle of the 10-year-old, is you can get this, which I've put together, which is absolutely exclusive to this pack. Can't get this anywhere else. I've not done this available for sale or anything like that. And this is a collection of Benromachs. So in here we have a sample bottle of, so you can do a bit of a comparison. We've got to, it's looking a little bit bright on the camera, so there we go, bit of shadow. There, you can kind of see what's in it and also the notes that I've put for them. So you can do a bit of a vertical tasting with the Benromach that was produced by Gordon MacPhail once they started redistilling in 1998. So they bought the distillery in 1993. It took them 5 years to build the inside of the distillery because it was essentially a shell, and then they started redistilling in August, officially opened in October of 1998. So we've got Gordon MacPhail's ownership stock of Benromach 10-year-old, Benromach 15-year-old, and then Benromach 21-year-old, which at the moment is the oldest bottling from them. What I've also got in here is a sample of the Benromach triple distilled, which was essentially a one-off release. It was a bit of an experiment playing around with what triple distillation would do to the Benromach spirit. Benromach 100 proof, which was replaced with their Benromach cask strength. Benromach 100 proof, 57% ABV, was essentially cask strength. But there's a lot of people that argue the 100 proof is actually better than the new cask strengths are. What we've also got is a sample of the Benromach 40-year-old. Now, this was a bottling of the previous stock when Gordon MacPhail took it over. They also bought the stocks that were already maturing from the previous owners, DCL, straight Diageo. And the 40-year-old was one of their top bottlings. It was bottled at 43%. They do 40-year-olds in this new packaging style. To be honest, it doesn't look anywhere near as good. But the new 40-year-old that they've been bringing out, I think they've done 2 releases now, it's sort of on an annual release, is at cask strength, whereas this is at 43%. So this is a really interesting way of kind of trying a very old Benromach, but also seeing what the spirit was like before Gordon MacPhail took it over and made essentially their own spirit, as it were. So in terms of what the spirit's like, what I'm going to do is just do a very, very quick tasting, because I am intending to do a tasting of the 3 of them for a separate video. Where's it gone? There we are. So if you're thinking, oh, that's a cool package, and it's literally any bottles that are sold to the end of August, 1st of September, I'm going to do a prize draw of anybody that's bought a 10-year-old bottle. So there might not be that many, you just never know. Because, it's a fairly quiet time of year, and I'm only a little independent. So there is a good chance that you've got not many people in the prize draw, so you've got a better chance of winning all this lot. So this is the 10-year-old Speyside Distillery, a place called Forest, just outside of Elgin. And when Gordon MacPhail bought the distillery, they wanted to try and kind of have a bit of a USP in terms of, it's another Speyside. So they've been buying new make spirit from various distilleries, maturing it themselves, bottling them up since the early 1900s. Gordon MacPhail as a grocery store started in 1895. So they went back and looked at the Benromachs that they'd released all the way through their history. And then they started looking at Speyside. And what they discovered was that up to about the 1960s, the mid to late 60s, Speyside whiskies used to have a slight smokiness to them, as well as the rest of Scotland, because up to that point, pretty much every distillery was malting the barley themselves, and in order to dry the barley through that malting process, they would use local peat. So there was always this inherent smokiness to pretty much most whiskies in Scotland, and particularly in Speyside. So pre-1960 Speyside whiskies would actually have a little smokiness to them. Now, it's not a medicinal smokiness like Islay. It's not barbecue or anything like that. It's a very soft, very, very subtle smokiness, because this is peat from the Highlands of Scotland, not from the islands or anything like that. And peat can have different types of smoke, which I'm going to try and explain in another video as well, that, yes, smoke comes from the peat that's used to dry the barley, but it doesn't all give the same effect. Anyway, so in terms of this, what G&M decided to do was they use a little bit of peated barley along with predominantly unpeated barley in order to create what they call a wisp of smoke. Because as soon as people say smoke with a whiskey, people think, oh, Lafroig, Lagavulin, Ardbeg, I'm not going to like it. This is very much a wisp of smoke. So it's about 50-50, 9 years, 50-50, ex-Oloroso casks, ex-bourbon casks, all first fill. And then for the final year, they're married in first fill Oloroso sherry casks. So on the nose, it's rich and it's fruity, but there is just a little hint of slightly drying smoke, but it's such a hint. It's almost imperceptible. Now, some people really do pick it up, and others are just like, I can't tell what it's there. So it's very, very subtle, and a wisp is a really good term for them to use. But it's just making things interesting. It's kind of adding the sort of embers of a log fire. This is a fire that's been kind of roaring, but then died down, and it's when you can see the sort of the ashiness, and there's a couple of corners of some bits of wood that are just slightly glowing. So there's just this tiny little bit of smoke rising, but it's sort of in the corner of the room. You're not stood above it. It's just there, but you then get sweetness, and you get sherry, and you get fruitcake. And on the palate, that absolutely comes through. First and foremost, there's toffee. There's a slight juiciness to it. There's dark cherries. There's a bit of milk chocolate in there. A touch of orange oil. It's rich, it's fruity, it's Christmas cakey. There's lots and lots of things going on in here. And that little hint of smoke is right on the finish. And what it does is it just lifts all of those flavours up. It's like, so some people will do for Christmas cake on Boxing Day is they'll fry the Christmas cake in butter. It's a tradition for quite a lot of people. And it's a little bit like having slightly charred bits on a Christmas pudding. Not Christmas cake, Christmas pudding. That's what you do with your leftover Christmas pudding, is you fry it in butter the following day. And it's like charred Christmas pudding. You've got this fruitiness, you've got just this slightly charred note on it, but it's making things really interesting and just lifting everything else. It's incredibly drinkable. Anybody that likes Speyside whiskies is going to absolutely love it. Even if you don't like smoky whiskies, I wouldn't call this a smoky whiskey. It's a Speyside whiskey with just something extra. something a little bit interesting. Unless you're hypersensitive to smoke, in which case it's probably going to be, because anything that's got any type of smoke in it is probably going to put you off. But it just adds an extra layer of complexity to what is already a really, really well-made classic Speyside whiskey in every sense. You've got the fruit, you've got the toffee, you've got the malts, you've got loads and loads of things going on, and then you've got this added extra element which just makes things even more interesting. So that's what it's like. And if you're wanting a bottle, not only have you got the good chance of winning the goodie bag with all these bits in, you're also going to save the £5, because normally I'm selling it for $39.99. But through August, kind of an incentive to, see if you can win this, you're also going to get £5 off. So instead of $39.99, it's $34.99 a bottle. So head to the website, or if you're local, come in store, but head to the website, www.spiritspecialist.com. It's basically the first thing that pops up on the top of the page. But head to the website, get yourself a bottle. UK delivery is available, so I can ship anywhere in the UK. There is an additional charge for that, but that kind of offset by the fact that you're getting £5 off the bottle. And yeah, you've got a really, really good chance of winning this fantastic goodie bag. This in particular, there's some absolute bangers in here. So yeah, that's me done. Good luck if you do buy a bottle, and I'll hopefully hear from you soon. Cheers.